Hi, it's Nero here, buyer's agent and founder of Investment Rise. And today I want to look at what happened to our property market in the last month. I want to then compare it to what happened to the previous month and then show you some really interesting data about why I think certain things are happening in the market to completely change the playing field in 2023. But first, let's begin by looking at what's happened to our various property markets, particularly the capital cities. Okay, so here we have CoreLogic RP Data Daily's Home Value Index, the monthly values, comparing property growth rates at the end of November versus the end of October. And this is for all dwellings, so for houses and units all lumped together. And what we see here is something quite interesting. So if we look at Sydney, last month, according to this data, prices dropped 1.3%. But that's just the same as what it was in October. Price falls are not accelerating. In Melbourne, price falls was 0.8% last month, but also 0.8% the previous month. In Brisbane, which including the Gold Coast, property prices dropped 1.8% according to this data in November, but that's slower than the price drop rate in October, which is 1.9%. Yes, it's marginal, but it's still slowing. Adelaide, 0.3% drop last month. The previous month, also 0.3%. In Perth, price drop was 0, so prices stayed the same, compared to the previous month of a drop of 0.2%. So what is that showing you? That's showing you that the rate of price drop is either staying the same or slowing down in some markets, okay? And now when you look at the next chart, I think it'll really start to show you that we are currently at what I would call a watershed moment. This is the chart that may change the way you look at property investing going into 2023. Here we have quarterly house price changes annualized, okay? And yes, this is at the end of September, so we're going back a couple of months, but I think it's important that we look at this because if we go back just a couple of months, you will remember seeing a lot of negativity in the press, doomsday headlines, etc. But when we look at this data, and this has come from both CoreLogic and Coolabah Capital Investments, what you can see quite clearly is that yes, Sydney, this red line, led the nation in terms of property prices falling, okay? But it's now starting to stabilize, and if we look at the current data, maybe even starting to turn around. I'll show you a bit more in a moment. Melbourne as well had another big drop, but now starting to stabilize, okay? Brisbane, which everyone expected to absolutely crash, that is not happening as we're seeing right now. And what this data is really showing me is that we are getting pretty close to the bottom of the property market if we're not already there. And I'm not the only one who's saying that. I mean, check this out. This is from the Australian Financial Review, and it says, asking prices pick up in parts of Sydney and Melbourne. And mind you, look at the date, November 29. Asking prices for homes on sale in some Sydney and Melbourne suburbs that were hit the hardest by rising interest rates are starting to pick up, a move that could eventually pave the way for a recovery in the broader market, industry insiders say. Analysis by Suburb Trends found that some markets that have been falling for more than 6 months and by at least 15% are now posting a rise in asking prices amid falling inventory levels. And that's the key message. Inventory levels falling, supply not being high enough to keep up with demand, especially as migration is increasing into Australia. And when demand is higher than supply, property prices, in fact, anything in the economy, when demand is higher than supply, all other things being held equal, prices tend to rise. And now we're starting to see that in pockets of Sydney and Melbourne, which had the biggest price drops. Prices are starting to find a floor and even start to increase. And we're seeing even people who are notoriously what I would call property bears. In other words, these are people who often say that the market is going to crash even they are starting to predict some strong price growth in 2023. Have a look at this. Housing market bust over. Solid growth forecast in 2023, SQM. A new housing forecast says the property bust is all but over, with new growth forecasts for 2023. Here's what it means for Queensland. The residential property market is set to swing back into growth mode in 2023, with signs of market recovery already underway across the country, including Brisbane, say latest forecasts. Christopher's Housing Boom and Bust Report 2023, released today by SQM Research, predict Brisbane's housing prices will rise by 5% in 2023, along with Melbourne and Adelaide, but Sydney will push past all capitals with 9%, and Perth will follow closely at 8%. The rises are an upward revision considering earlier forecasts have been picking falls for Brisbane and parts of Queensland in 2023, given interest rate and inflation uncertainty. And I'd probably say that's been the case for predictions for property prices around the country. Most people have been expecting massive price falls. So the takeaway message is simply this. Because of the massive undersupply we have in Australia, there just aren't enough properties to meet demand. Add to the fact increasing demand from migration, add to the fact increasing rental yields almost nationwide. I mean, many places around the country, they have a bigger crisis in terms of trying to find rental accommodation than people trying to find their own home to actually live in. And so with all these forces in play, a lot of that negativity that was expected to happen based on what you read in the headlines a few months ago is not going to happen. People are starting to get used to higher interest rates. They're starting to see that the bottom is not going to fall out of property prices. And I really believe that 2023 is going to be a great buying window for you if you're looking to buy an investment property. Of course, this isn't advice. You need to consider your own personal circumstances. But I really am very, very confident about the property market going forwards. I think that we've hit the bottom in many areas around the country, and those that we haven't, we're going to be hitting the bottom in early 2023, maybe mid 2023. So if you're trying to get a bargain, you're trying to get a good deal in an area where you expect strong long-term capital growth, I really believe that you have some great opportunities ahead of you. Hi, it's Nero here again, and thanks so much for watching. If you like what you saw and you're looking for a proven recipe, a blueprint on how to build a property portfolio that gives you passive income, then click the link below this video and get a copy of my book, Wake Up Wealthier, How to Build a Property Portfolio that pays you an income each and every month. Okay, when you click the link and you download your book, you can get both the digital version and the audio version in case you don't like reading. All right, so I used to sell this book for $49, but right now I'm making it totally free. Why? Because I want more people to get this information, and I know that a segment of you will then like what you see in the book and choose to reach out to find out more about our services. But even if you don't, if you're serious about building a property portfolio that pays your passive income, then you really want to get my book, Wake Up Wealthier. It contains the secrets that I have fine-tuned over the last 19 years. It's totally free for a limited time. Click the link below.